Hello, everyone. You're all very welcome to this talk. So we in the law school, we're very excited to announce the launch of this new master's program, the MSc in Environmental and Climate Law, which is an interdisciplinary program for law and non-law graduates. And the first question that might arise is, well, why study environmental and climate law? If you're in the room for this session, you already have a fair idea of the importance of these subjects. I think they have a good claim to be, amongst the most vital subjects that could be studied anywhere in the university at this time. They're really of such significance, as you'll all be aware. And I've included this quote to emphasize that from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They're the latest part of the 6th assessment report that they released yesterday. And this final sentence from the report has been gaining quite a bit of traction on social media and so on. They say, any further delay in concerted anticipatory global action on climate adaptation and mitigation will miss a brief and rapidly closing window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for all. And they express that with very high confidence. So, really, climate law, climate policy is absolutely essential, but it's of course intertwined with all sorts of other environmental issues such as biodiversity loss and so on. So really, I think there's no more important subjects to be studying now. Law has a huge role to play in addressing these problems. The failure of political responses to these problems, for example, has seen people turn increasingly to the law and to litigation in recent years when it comes to trying to address these problems. So they're massive issues now. And as I'll say later when we talk about careers, these issues are only going to grow in prominence in the years ahead. An image from the IPCC then, again, just to the report they released yesterday, again, just to emphasize the significance and the growing significance of the issues. Here you can see on the left, temperature increase above pre-industrial levels, and what the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says about the key reasons for concern and how, as temperatures increase, the risks and harms worsen. And you can see I've indicated on the left, we're about here, about 1.1 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial globally. And if you follow that across, you can see the dotted line here. And you can see already, if you look at reason for concern 2, extreme weather events, we're already in orange. And of course, that flows through into things like the very serious hurricanes, typhoons, forest fires, and so on that we've been seeing. But you can see as we move beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, the target enshrined in the Paris Agreement, things quickly become much worse. And we really, really do not avoid going above 1.5 degrees Celsius. So these are massive existential problems, and they're very urgent problems. And so I'm delighted that those in the room are considering this degree as a possibility, because really it's a matter of all hands on deck, and we need everyone working on these issues in all the ways that we can. In terms of some key facts about the new MSc, so as I said at the outset, it's an interdisciplinary degree aimed at law and non-law graduates. There are law modules that form part of the program, but there are also optional modules from across the university. So from the schools of geography, economics, biology and environmental science, and architecture, planning and environmental policy. It's a very flexible degree, so you can take it full-time over 1 year or part-time over 2 years. You can take the program fully online, or depending on the options that you choose, you could take it partly online and partly in person. And one reason, of course, for the fully online option is with climate and environmental protection in mind. It's possible, for example, to do this degree as an international student anywhere in the world without having to clock up lots of air miles going back and forward from your home country to Ireland and so on. In recognition of that fact, too, fees are set at the EU level for both EU and international students. And you can see the amount that that's set at for the academic year 2022-23 at the bottom there. So in terms of the precise structure of the degree, it's a 90 credit taught degree made up of 60 taught credits and a 30 credit dissertation. If you look at the column on the left, then you'll see there are 4 core, in other words, compulsory taught modules comprising 40 credits. And those are Foundations of Environmental Law, Climate Change Law and Policy, Natural Resources Law, and Environmental Moot Court. And then you can see in the right-hand column here, the optional modules, and you have to pick modules making up 20 credits in total. And you can see a really broad range of choices there: ecology and its application, peatlands and environmental change, sustainable cities, planning law, the market for labour, land and SDGs, practical environmental assessment, culture, heritage and human rights, NGOs, law, governance and social change, and international law of the sea. And as I said before, the optional modules are drawn from across the university, so there are some modules from within the law school there and amongst the options, but equally modules from a range of different subject and disciplinary areas. And on the left that I showed you from the law school, there's myself, Andrew Jackson. I'm Assistant Professor of Environmental Law and a practicing solicitor. I'd be the program director, and I'm involved in all of those core modules that we just saw. In terms of my background, I started out in practice working for a law firm. And then I worked for the UK government's Department for Environment, advising on nature conservation and countryside issues, a lot of EU law and national law, as well as international law. I then moved and completed a master's and a PhD, and worked for an environmental NGO in Ireland as their in-house lawyer before moving to UCD. And I'm still involved in public interest environmental litigation, and have been for many years, including recently before the Supreme Court of Ireland in the case that Friends of the Irish Environment won in 2020, which is often known as Climate Case Ireland. My colleague involved in the core taught modules, Professor Suzanne Kingston, who is Professor of Environmental Law, and in January this year was made a judge of the EU General Court. And then across the university, in terms of the optional modules, I should be there as well, really, because I'm responsible for planning law. But you can see the breadth of expertise there. We have Ainhoa Gonzalez from the School of Geography, Amy Strecker from the Law School, Frank Walsh from Economics, Richard Collins from Law, Professor Enda Murphy from the School of Architecture, Planning and Environmental Policy, Professor Una Breen from the Law School, Florence Renew-Wilson from the School of Biology and Environmental Science, and Taz Crow also from Biology and Environmental Science, who's the head of the UCD Earth Institute. So really, very broad range of expertise involved in the Masters. Now, to finish up, just to say a word or two about careers, as I emphasized at the outset, as an area of research and practice, environmental and climate law will only grow in importance. I suspect if you're thinking about this degree, you're interested in it because you feel passionately about the importance of the issues and the need to address them and so on. Even if you were only looking at this in instrumental terms and thinking, strategically, what area should I look to steer my career, you know, this is a very important area, because climate and environmental issues are already of huge significance, but they're going to grow in significance in the coming years and decades ahead, as I've emphasized. So, you know, really, I think that this is an excellent choice, both in and of itself, but also in terms of thinking about, well, you know, where are interesting and important careers going to be in the next few years. I think this is a really great option in that regard. And career opportunities really in this field, there are so many, and I've just tried to pick out a few examples. So for example, intergovernmental organizations like the United Nations, like the EU, like the Council of Europe, working in national government departments and agencies all around the world, in local government, in NGOs at the national or regional or international levels, think tanks, planning and environmental agencies, and all sorts of roles. And again, I've only tried really to give a flavor here, but for example, you could go on to be a practicing lawyer, you could work in policy, you could work as an advocate within an NGO, a researcher, a consultant, you could go on to academia. Really a very broad range of opportunities, I think, can open up to you with this type of degree. So that's all I have to say in my brief presentation. Thank you.